Hello! We're reading the last chapter of A Lesson Before Dying by Ernest J. Gaines. Chapter 30 was Jeff Grant telling us um, what everybody saw that day of the execution. Not a lot of dialogue, just a lot of stories of what everybody saw and just different perspectives from different people. The blacks and the whites. Alright, so we will start chapter 31 on page 246. So, chapter 31 of A Lesson Before Dying. After the students had recited their Bible verses and before class began, I told them that there would be no more recess period for them today, and that I would let them go home for dinner at 11 o'clock, because I wanted them all back at the school no later than 11:45. I told them that at exactly 12 o'clock they would all get down on their knees and remain on their knees until I heard for the courthouse whether that took an hour or an hour and a half, 3 hours. Lewis Washington Jr. stuck up a grimy little hand. Suppose somebody got to be executed. Then he'll make up that time on his knees after 3 o'clock, I told him. For every minute that you don't spend on your knees between 12 o'clock and until I hear from that courthouse, you will spend twice that time on your knees after 3. Any other questions? No, sir. Does anyone else have a question? No one did. All right, open those books, and I want silence, and I mean silence. I assign Odessa Freeman primer and first grades. Irene Cole would teach second and third. Fourth graders open their books to English grammar. Fifth graders geography, sixth history. I told them that I would test them later, if not this afternoon, then definitely tomorrow morning. I knew I would not be able to concentrate on teaching this morning, so I got my Westcott ruler and went outside. It was a nice day, blue sky, not a cloud. Across the road in the Freeman's yard I could see a patch of white lilies on either side of the walk that led up to the porch, and an old automobile tire surrounded each flower. Behind the house was the sugar-cane field. The new cane was about waist-high to the average man walking between the rows. Somewhere across the field I could hear the sound of a tractor. A white sharecropper must have been plowing the ground, since no colored people were working today, even those who worked up at the big house, for Henry Pitchett or for other white people along the river had taken the day off. This had been discussed and agreed at church last Sunday. Those who were not at church were told what the others had decided, that he, Jefferson, shall have all their respect with this one day. Now, except for the sound of the tractor back in the field, the rest of the plantation was quiet. No one sat out on the porch, no one worked in the garden, no one walked across the yard or in the road. I looked towards Miss Emma's house, farther down the quarter. My aunt was there, others were there, but they were all inside. The front door was shut, though the window was open to let in fresh air. I could see with the white gauze curtain hanging limp in the window. I went around to the back of the church. Like so many country churches, it was wood-framed, long and narrow, with a corrugated thin roof and a bell tower. Years ago, I was told, the church sat on the ground. Later it was set up on wooden blocks. During the 30s, when I was a student here, the wooden blocks which had brought it over the years were replaced with bricks. A year or two before I started teaching, Farrell Jarrow and a couple of other men removed their bricks and put it in cement blocks. But now even the cement blocks had sunk to so low in the ground that a child losing a marble or a ball under the church had a hard time crawling under there to retrieve it. I remembered playing rag ball back there, the other children and I using our first fists as bats. We all tried to hit the ball out of the yard from a home run. I suppose I had done so as many times as anyone else, but the number of times was nothing to brag about. Where were all the others now? Must have gone. To southern cities, to northern cities, others to the grave. Had Jefferson ever hit a home run? He was big as anyone else, stronger than most, but to hit a home run off a rag ball was a feat. Brute strength was not enough. Timing and luck were needed. You had to hit it just right, and that took timing and luck. Lily Green hit as many as anyone else, I suppose, but her luck ran out before she was 20. Killed accidentally in a barroom in Baton Rouge. What is a bar? Oh, killed accidentally in a bar room in Baton Rouge. What a waste. Such a beautiful girl. All the boys loved Lily Green. I stared back towards the front. What about tomorrow? What happens after today? Nothing will ever be the same after today. At 5 minutes to 11, I was standing at my desk, facing the open front door, when I saw the minister's car go up the quarter, with Harry Williams sitting in the passenger seat beside him. They were on their way into Bayonne. I told my students to put away their things quietly. Before letting them go, I reminded them that I didn't want any running or loud talking, and that I wanted them all back at school no later than 11:45. When they had all gone, I sat down at my desk, facing the door. I did not want to think. I wanted to sit there until I heard, but not to think before then. No, I wanted to go to my car and drive away, to go somewhere and lose all my memory or where I had come from. I wanted to go. I wanted to. God, what does a person do? What does a person do who knows there is only one more hour to live? I felt like crying, but I refused to cry. No, I wouldn't. I would not cry. There were too many more who would end up as he did. I could not cry for all of them, could I? I wish I could telephone Vivian, but there was not one telephone, public or otherwise, between here and Bayonne that I could use. I would see her tonight, though. I would definitely see her tonight. I need to see you tonight, my love. But who was with him? Who is with you, Jefferson? Is he with you, Jefferson? He is with Reverend Ambrose, because Reverend Ambrose believes. Do you believe, Jefferson? Have I done anything to make you not believe? If I have, please forgive me for being a fool, for at this moment, what else is there? I know now that I know now that old man is much braver than I am. I am not with you at this moment because I would not have been able to stand. I would not have been able to walk with you those last few steps. I would have embarrassed you, but the old man will not. He will be strong. He is going to use their God to give them strength. You just watch, Jefferson. You just watch. He is brave, braver than I am, braver than any of them except you. I hope. My faith is in you, Jefferson. The children returned from dinner as I had asked them to, and at 10 minutes to 12, I lined them up before the... What the heck are they having dinner at 12? Is this like nighttime? I don't know. I lined up. I lined them up before the door. When the last one had marched into the church, I went to my desk to face them. In a couple of minutes, it will be 12 o'clock. I will ask you to get down on your knees and remain on your knees until I ask you to get up. Are there any questions? Louis Washington Jr. raised that grimy little hand again. Is you going to bow down too, Mr. Wiggins? The proper way to ask that question is, are you going to bow down too, Mr. Wiggins? You going to bow down too? I'll be outside, I told the class. Irene, you, Odessa, and Clarence are in charge. All right, please on your knees. I'll tell you when to get up. We need to pray, Louis Washington Jr. wanted to know. Yes, I told him, but quietly to yourself. Where was he at this moment? At the window, looking out the sky? Oh wait, never mind. Several of the larger girls knelt under scarves or handkerchiefs. I took up my waistcoat and went out through the front door. I had no idea what I would do while I waited to hear from Bayonne, but I found myself out in the road and walking up the quarter. It was a couple of minutes after 12, and I was trying not to think. It was a couple of minutes after 12, and I was trying not to think. But how could I not think about something that had dominated my thoughts for nearly 6 months? It seemed that I had spent more time with them in that jail cell than I had with the children in the church school. Where was he at this moment? At the window, looking out the sky? Lying on the bunk, staring up at the gray ceiling? Standing at the cell door, waiting? How did he feel? Was he afraid? Was he crying? Were they coming to get him now? This moment? Was he on his knees, begging for one more minute of life? Was he standing? Why wasn't I there? Why wasn't I standing beside him? Why wasn't my arm around him? Why? Why wasn't I back there with the children? Why wasn't I down on my knees? Why? At the mouth of the quarter there was shade from a pecan tree in the corner of the fence surrounding Henry Pitchett's yard. A shallow ditch ran between the fence and the road. The people from the quarter had sat under the tree as far as I could remember. The people from the quarter had sat under that tree as far as I could remember. Men had gambled there with cards and dice. Others had stood or sat there to get out of the hot sun or the rain. Before I had a car, I had stood there many, many times waiting for the bus. The bus driver always knew the horn about a mile before he got there, and I would have time to cross the highway to wave it down. There would always be someone there, but not today. I sat alone. Behind me was Henry Pitch's gray and white antebellum house, sitting on its foundation high above the ground. His car was parked on the grass in the front yard. I figured that he would be the first to hear, and maybe he would come into the quarter. I looked back over my shoulder when I sat down, and looked back every minute or two afterward. It must have been 12:30 by now, 12:15 by now. I didn't want to look at my watch anymore. Had it already happened, or was he still waiting, sitting on the bunk, hands clasped together, waiting? Was he standing at the cell door, listening for that first sound of footsteps coming towards him, or was it finally over? Don't tell me to believe. Don't tell me to believe in the same God or laws that men believe in who commit these murders. Don't tell me to believe that God can bless this country and that men are judged by their peers. Whom among his peers judged him? Was I there? Was the minister there? Was Harry Williams there? Was Farrell Gerald? Was my aunt? Was Vivian? No, his peers did not judge him, and I will not believe. Yet they must believe, if only to free the mind, if not the body. Only when the mind is free has the body a chance to be free. Yes, they must believe, because I know what it means to be a slave. I am a slave. I looked back, but there was no movement at Henry Pitch's house. It must have been close to 12:30, but I refused to look at my watch. Several feet away from me, where I sat under the tree, was a hill of blue grass. I doubted that I had looked at it once in all. I doubted that had looked at it once in all the time that I had been sitting there. I probably would not have noticed it at all. Had it all had a butterfly, a yellow butterfly with the dark species like